I'm Stuart Baxter, you're watching Y2 TV.
Stuart William Baxter, thanks for joining us on Y2 TV. A career that spanned coaching and playing over 45 years, I believe, maybe a little bit less, which has taken you to Japan, Scotland, England, Australia, Finland, Sweden, Norway. Am I missing something? South Africa.
Probably, yeah.
Wow.
My father said I've had more clubs than Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah, I had that in there, damn it. And tell us about that. I mean, growing up as a kid, you know, you're doing what you love, you're travelling the world. I mean, that must have been amazing.
My father was the coach at Aston Villa. I grew up really at Villa Park. I grew up watching the players train and being impressed by the way they dressed sharp and how they looked in good shape. And really, I think Arsene Wenger said that he was convinced he was going to be a coach when he was 6. And my path in football was probably set around that time.
And interesting story, which I know a lot of people don't know, is that you got called up to the Australian national team. What happened there?
I was playing in Australia, and a coach called Rudy Guttendorf from Hamburg, he came, he took over as national coach, and he recruited the best players in the league, and I ended up getting a stamp in the passport and being captain of the Socceroos.
Favourite coach in the PSL besides yourself?
One that's done a very good job this year, I think, is Fadlu. I think Fadlu is an up-and-coming coach that thinks football and he thinks it in the right way, and I think that the experiences that he's had before, he's used them. I think that's really important for a coach. You know, we don't just get your head down and do your thing and you sort of transport that from club to club. You go into a club, you ask yourself, what do they need? What sort of coach should I be?
The most underrated player, in your opinion, in the PSL?
Crazy to say it, but I think Dean Furman. Because I think people look at Dean and they see he's a good player, but they don't realise how good he is, because I think he is so valuable to the teams he plays for because he has what other players do not have. So therefore he's underrated.
3 players in the PSL that you feel are wasting their time in South Africa, that should be in Europe?
I think there's many players that could have earned a good living in Europe if they hadn't been as comfortable as they are in South Africa. So I think there are many. I think ones that I think would have been successful. I think of the present crop, Percy Tau will do well when he goes, because I think he'll go at some stage.
I mean, being a coach in the Champions League, how was that?
Amazing for 2 reasons. One, because the Champions League is what it is, and 2, because the club that I was coaching, AIK Stockholm, their fans are unbelievable, and they turned it into a sort of carnival. To the degree we had an Australian player playing for us, Luke Castley, and when we played Fiorentina, who also had an Australian, and he called Luke and he says, "Oh, you guys are the ones with the fans, aren't you?" The pinstripe always reminds me of England. Just understand, because I used to wear pinstripes all the time.
All the time, yeah.
What do you make of England's World Cup squad? I know that obviously they're on and on about 1966. They're going to the World Cup now in Russia. No Hart, no Wilshere. They're obviously upset. What do you make of their side?
You were going to say no heart, no team spirit.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe's not going. No, I think Southgate's been quite tough in his selection, and I think he's been quite correct, because the players that he's picked are the ones that have been doing the business in the Premier League. I think England have gone through a bit of a metamorphosis. You know, we had a time in England where we thought we were going to win every World Cup. Football was born here, and therefore we were going to win every World Cup. And the England shirt weighed very heavy, and even my time with the England under 1920s was the same. You know, good players suddenly didn't play very well. You know, And I think we can compare that a little bit with South Africa. You know, we sort of think that we're top of the tree, and we've not noticed that a lot of teams, a lot of countries have gone past us. So we need to get that reality. England have got that reality. Now they don't talk about we're going to go there, but they just, well, we'll do okay, and it'll be great if we get through the group stages, which is more realistic, and therefore I think England have a little chance to be a bit of a dark horse. Not to win the thing, but to have a decent World Cup.
You've coached in Sweden as well. Zlatan is the big Swedish player. He said he would be going to the World Cup. He wasn't selected. What do you make of that? What is a Sweden without Zlatan?
The Swedish national coach was my assistant in Halmstad, Jan Andersson. And Janne is a very correct Swede. Janne would not have compromised his team for an individual, no matter how big he is. So Janne has never contacted Zlatan. It's been through an intermediary, and Zlatan has been playing games with him. You know, he's been saying, well, I may go to the World Cup and I may not, but a World Cup without Zlatan is not a World Cup, you know. So he's been playing games, and I don't think his intention was to go, but I think Zlatan would have gone back, and for me he would have been an impact player, because the team with a capital T that has got them there would not have accommodated Zlatan, but they would have loved to have him there because he can step in and do something really special. It's a shame, really, in the sort of the fairy story world, Zlatan would have gone there and been a hero, but this is the Swedish way, and I think it was always going to be this way.
Bringing it closer to home now, obviously our national side, you are the national coach. What do we have to do to make sure that, you know, come the next 4 years or 8 years, that we're also in the mix? Because obviously it's nice, you know, watching a World Cup and supporting it, but it's even better supporting a World Cup with your national team there.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, my ambition that I have left in South Africa, because at club level I've won probably just about everything, but my ambition is to qualify the South African national team for a major tournament. Why? Not for my CV and not for the players really, but for the country, but for the people to experience that. I've seen what it does. It galvanises. You've seen it in your own country, 2010, and I really would love to give either a big African Cup of Nations or a big World Cup, and go not just qualify and keep, you know, be one of the numbers, but do something. And I think we've got to really discover and reinvent what is South African in the modern world. I don't mean shoeshine football, because that's past, and it's a nice part of South African culture. But find a South African football that has an impact in the modern world.
It's a long build-up in terms of putting the structures in place to make sure that we get to those tournaments and qualify for those tournaments, and the local leagues play a big part of that, because they give you the tools to be able to do that. What do you make of the season that has just finished?
This has been a season that's seen a lot of the bigger boys struggling. It's seen a lot of the, let's say, before the smaller clubs or the more modest budgets doing well. So does that indicate that we're not produced at the top level, or does it indicate that we're getting a deeper pool of talent? I would like to think that the cooperation that's going on now is spawning a little bit more development over a larger area. I think that's vital for us. We've really got to have that, because, as you say, the players are developed at the clubs, not at the national team. They're used with the national team, and they're utilised with the national team, hopefully to the best we can do, but they are still developed at the clubs. And if we don't develop our talent, then we're not going to develop a top national team.
You mentioned qualifying for a major tournament is one of your major goals, but also you've got the COSAFA Cup coming up. What are your goals for that tournament for the team and for yourself?
Well, I think for many years South Africa have been trying to place the COSAFA tournament, with all due respect, into a place that benefits South Africa, and struggled badly. You know, we've taken teams of mixed experience and mixed ambitions, really. So we've gone there and we've done nothing. Now I think it's got to be placed firmly under the development banner. And again, with all due respect to COSAFA, because it's outside the FIFA calendar, because our clubs struggle after a long season to give us their best players. So stop looking for the best team and take a development team, one that you can invest international football into some of the players that are albeit younger, but you see them as being future Bafana internationals. Thierry Henry used to call it caps in the bank. In France we had caps in the bank. Well, I think when he won a World Cup, I think he got 38 youth international caps with 2 major tournaments, and then I think he'd got about 45, 50 senior caps, and then they won the World Cup. You know, we tend here to, the young ones don't get a chance. We play the best team we can because it's so important that we win the game. Then when we don't win the game, we throw all them away. The ones that are going in have got no experience and they fail as well, and we say, oh, he's not good enough, and throw him away. So I think we've got to go there with development in mind, and of course we want to win games. So I'm hoping we can get a squad that will learn something, will give us information, and will give some performances that will take us pretty far in the tournament.
Right, worst subjects at school.
Mathematics.
What do you do in your spare time?
Spend time with the family or train myself.
How would a player get your special attention?
Show character and leadership qualities.
Favorite music?
Favourite, rhythm and blues.
Your biggest fear?
The only thing to fear is fear itself.
Nice one. Coach, thank you very much for being on Y2 TV, and we'll hope to see you soon. I have to do that, it's my thing.